Today, I'm going to present with you a three-way prediction winner for the primary in Ohio. But what's more than that, I'm also going to show you why it even matters who wins this race. So for starters, of course, when you look at the screen, you'll notice that these polls are extremely close. What do I mean, folks? Well, what I mean is that when we have Dolan, Brown, and Moreno, when we're talking about LaRose as well, it's a really weird sort of polling aggregate when we're looking at it. So, for example, the most recent one from Emerson, which is a really big pollster, has Moreno up by 4. Now, this is in flux massively because Donald Trump, instead of going to Mesa, Arizona, like I was hyped for him to be here 2 days ago, he actually went to Ohio so that he could put in his weight and his clout towards Moreno. Now, who's Moreno and why is he in Ohio? Shouldn't he be in New Mexico or something? Well, Moreno is 2 points ahead in the aggregate, okay? So just keep this in mind. So this is a crazy level of polling. So if you look at last year, LaRose was the favorite candidate, but like Scott Walker in 2016, he fell off the face of the earth. Now he's polling at about 18.3%, and things have stratified between Moreno and Dolan. But who's Dolan? Okay, so Moreno is basically the Secretary of State under a horrible governor known as Mike DeWine. And we have, I think he's a state congressman or senator, Matt Dolan. Then you have LaRose, who also has a lot of experience. Here's a huge distinction point, okay? You have people showing up at this rally, and you can tell who the type of person is by the character of the people around him, okay? So, first of all, okay, so for example, we have JD Vance, who, for all of my hate of him, and very valid, I also pre-gamed hating JD Vance and his wife and whatnot. Okay, so he's pretty conservative. Then you have Jim Jordan, who, of course, aside from knowingly being like this weird wrestling coach or whatever, the liberals call him as being like this like odd person. So he is a staunch conservative as well in the House. Then we also have, for the other person, we really do have Dolan being endorsed by Mike DeWine, who is a terrible governor, like actually atrocious. It's hard to describe. I don't even know why I don't like him, but I remember he sucked from high school. That was like 3 years ago. Then we have Rob Portman, who was a strong VP candidate, I think, for Romney in 2012. He has like a gay son or something. The guy, I mean, so Herschel Walker has that in common with him. Both are losers, in my opinion. Senator Rob Portman, again, very popular, sucky Republican, like complete cock on all the issues. I mean, that's very obvious. Here's another thing. Donald Trump, who has the mandate in the Republican Party, if I've ever seen one, okay, for a non-incumbent candidate to have this much of a vice grip over the party is impressive. This guy goes ahead and just throws a kill shot or shoots one when talking about Matt Dolan, the guy you see pictured here next to Rob Portman or whatever his name is to his left. Okay, Matt Dolan was called a rhino by Donald Trump. Okay, the state senators, backers, also known as janitors in this sector, he called him a pragmatist with a plan to solve problems and not just complain about them. So that more or less is a dig at Donald Trump. When you're saying that, oh, he doesn't nag, he solves things. Okay, well, Donald Trump was president for 4 years. And if he didn't solve things, then how could you support him? Is my question. Again, this logic is not good. Whoever intern came up with that response to the media or whatnot is just so like, just fire him, hire me, and it might make you win. Okay, because that sort of retort is ridiculously licentious. It's stupid. And what's more, when looking at this as well, what is the cope? Oh no, he's a liberal, but he's a pragmatist. Okay, that works for Juan Ciscomani in Arizona. It works for people in Wisconsin, where it's a purple state. But how are you a pragmatist in a state that Trump won by like 10 points twice? Folks, it doesn't make sense to me. So we're looking at the Missouri of the Great Lakes, so to speak. Stolen that from Red Eagle. But anyway, that sort of logic is underpinning this sort of statement. And it's ridiculously dumb because when we're really just thinking about it with layman's terms, Ohio is a red state, deep red by any means. If it goes blue, I will chop my leg off. Why not? But I will say this. Ohio is not a place you need to be pragmatic in. There is a strong Republican influence there. It's a MAGA takeover, to be honest, with Sherrod Brown being the last peg to take on. And now we're looking at a state where you don't need to be working with the other side to get stuff done. And here we are talking about, oh my God. Imagine if a Texan said that, okay? Texas and Ohio are about the same as Republican as each other, to be honest. What is a Texan going to be like? I work with Democrats. I do red flag gun laws. That would not fly. What are you, Dan Crenshaw? You're going to lose an eye in this race if you keep on with that bullshit. Okay, Rob Portman, the senator, bar for bar, let's break this down, okay? So he's retired, he's washed, and he says this. What you really need to do is have a candidate who can appeal to those independent voters, particularly here in Ohio, where they swing back and forth. People say Ohio's a red state now. It's a lot redder than it used to be, that's for sure, but it's still a state where Democrats can win statewide if they appeal to the independent voter. Not true. Fake news. Again, a lot of these people on the opposition, people that don't agree with me, are banking their opinions or their narrative to fit the structure of a mind that is uneducated, okay? So when they're talking in the Columbus Dispatch, as you're looking up here, most of those readers don't know maybe how red the state is, but I, who have never been to Ohio, aside from their terrible airport in Cleveland, I would tell you this. Ohio is a red state. I know better than you, or I know better than Rob Portman, because either he's lying to you or he just doesn't know his own people. He's saying Democrats can win statewide. Let's think of a Democrat that won statewide. Just off the top of my head. Okay, Sherrod Brown. Oh, okay, so he's the topic of conversation. Well, he won 6 years ago, folks. 2018, blue wave is a different paradigm than it is now. Okay, Trump was still doing rallies in Ohio in 2020 to a small degree. He's not going to do a goddamn one this year for this election season. And if he is, he's an idiot, because it's not necessary. It's superfluous. I mean, you just don't need to do it. You don't need to do it, folks. So when it comes to that, it's just ridiculous. And so he's saying, oh, well, Dolan is a good candidate against Sherrod Brown because he's more moderate. Therefore, he'll appeal to more independents. You don't need independents. And a lot of these independents, by the way, are conservative-leaning ones to begin with. A lot of the Trump voters in Pennsylvania, the Great Lakes, overall, that region, a lot of these independents, not registered, whatever, these types, they will vote Republican. So to say, well, so much of the electorate is independent, that doesn't matter. Okay, for example, there could be a lot of independents in San Francisco, but they're all voting Democrat regardless. So it doesn't matter. We need a Republican to win independents in San Fran. It's not going to happen, okay? Sherrod Brown is not going to win a lot of independents, okay? In a state that Trump's going to win by like 12, do you really think there's going to be a fifth of Trump voters voting Democrat for Sherrod Brown? Why? It doesn't make sense. Look, if there was Obamacare on the table and there was some like conservative, liberal predisposition in the white trash to be like, well, I want healthcare, maybe then, but there's nothing on the table for healthcare. So again, use logic. Just stay alive a little bit and plug the fuck in, lock in. Come on, what is this? This is a super important nugget of information for y'all to understand, okay? Spending for the primary writ large is about $50 million up to this point, okay? There has been a torrent of ads over the past week alone, which is obvious. That includes over $3 million from the National Democratic Group to promote Moreno and highlight his ties to Donald Trump as an ally. While Democrats cast the ad as a criticism, Dolan's allies argued that they're trying to handpick Brown's opponent in November. Okay, so Moreno is being hit from the center and the left by saying he's too close to Trump and that he's like the furthest right-wing one, which in my opinion, you can look at the shirt I'm wearing. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty cool MAGA fact. Okay, that's actually really cool. And it's not so much like, oh, well, he's unelectable. Again, Trump's going to win by like 12. You think he's going to lose a fifth of Trump's voters? When is that going to happen in a general election? I can pretty much confidently say Sherrod Brown will lose by like 7 to 8, actually. So I think I've given you enough of a primer as to what these people are. LaRose is definitely gonna lose when we're looking at the facts, folks. LaRose is down by like 20 on average in these polls, with one outlier where he's still down by like 10. So either way, LaRose, count him out. He's done. Who cares about him? Now it's Dolan. So let's cover a little bit of Dolan facts, okay? So when we look at Dolan, he's not looking hot. In fact, when we're looking at a quote from the rally in Dayton, Ohio on Saturday afternoon, Trump praised Moreno as an America First champion, an AFC, and a political outsider who would be a warrior in Washington. But then he also mocked Dolan as being a weak rhino, okay, which is a Republican in name only, akin to the next Mitt Romney, folks. So think about that, okay? The guy who has complete control over the Republican Party has single-handedly changed who runs the RNC as the chairperson, is now going to be saying that Dolan is not his guy, okay? So, I mean, what are the bona fides for somebody like Dolan to win? It would be because money, institutional support, such as Robert Portman, who's an important fixture in politics in Ohio, unfortunately, part of the old guard from the 2000s. But also, we have somebody in Dolan being supported by people such as Mike DeWine. Now, Mike DeWine, popular governor. I hate him. He's a dork. Let's pull up a picture of him, Frank. So Mike is the short one with the glasses, okay? Now, I mean, the wife is kind of taller than him, and you know what? That's kind of like a take one for the team moment for your progeny, but still, man. But, I mean, you folks can just tell why I don't like this guy, okay? He looks like the type that'd be like, I think Trump's COVID policies are, like, endangering so many Americans, and, like, actually, I'm with my glasses. fuck you, okay? I'm so pissed at looking at this guy's existence. It's driving me up a wall. So anyway, Trump has control over the party. And despite a couple of rhinos supporting Dolan, it'll be a close one. But I predict personally that Moreno will win the state of Ohio by a very thin margin, thanks to Donald Trump. And if Moreno, who's Colombian, viva la raza. Anyway, if my compatriot Moreno, immigrant, by the way, if he loses the election, then Trump bros, it's over. Wrap it up. You can't even win a primary based off your endorsement. It's over, Trump bros. MAGA hat gets off. Okay, it's over. I'll quit. Kidding, but still, come on, man. So anyway, Moreno by 1 point. That, call it in, ring it up. I'm putting absolutely no money into this race, but guess what? I'm gonna look so smart when I'm right, and I'll see you on the other side of that. Adios.